What the actual... job? Hello and welcome back to What the Actual Job, where I interview people about their careers so that high school students can gain a better understanding of the jobs they'd like to pursue in the future. Today's interview is with Chris Cummings, who is an electrician.
My name is Chris Cummings. I am a Red Seal certified electrician here in Ottawa. I've been doing it now for probably about 12 years. It is a second profession for me. Before that, I was in high tech.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So what does a typical day look like for you as an electrician?
So currently I am a foreman or a supervisor. So my day is somewhat typical, but also maybe a little different than if I was sort of doing just a standard worker. But essentially there are a lot of parallels. First thing I do is start off the morning. I need to make sure that my crew is organized, that they have work set out for them, kind of a plan for the day for everybody that's going to be there that I'm responsible for. The next thing I do is a safety talk with them to talk about what they're going to be doing and potential hazards on the job. That might be specific to the work that they're doing. It may also be something to do with the site or weather conditions or anything that may affect them, their safety. After that, we go through the plan with them, help them collect their tools and equipment, make sure they have everything they need to work for the day, and then they proceed with the work. There's 3 breaks throughout the course of the day, so we have breaks, 2 breaks and a lunch that everybody gets. At the end of the day, we make sure everything gets cleaned up, that tools and material get put away safely, and then they head off home, and I usually, as a supervisor, have a little bit of paperwork left over to do. Things like timesheets, and I have to keep a log every day of things that happen on the site or issues or things that we need to watch out for.
What would you say is the thing you like most about your job, and what makes you want to come to work every day?
I think probably for me, one of the things that really drives me or helps me is feeling a sense of purpose. The things that I'm doing, either I'm directly building something that will last. Right now I'm working at the hospital, the new hospital at the parking garage. And then after that, I'll be working at the actual hospital itself. So those are structures that will probably be here for 50, 60, 70, 80 years even, that people will rely on every day. So that feeling of purpose of moving projects ahead, keeping a challenge as well is something that I really, really like. As a electrician or a tradesperson in general, you're solving problems all day, small issues that you come across. The problem might be sort of, how do I get this project done? What do I need? What tools do I need? And then you'll inevitably start something and run into some sort of an issue that you have to problem solve around. And then probably one of the biggest things as well is the people. I really enjoy the people that I work with. That brings me a pretty significant quality of life.
That's great. The hospital, that's a really big project.
At some point, they're anticipating that there'll be probably 2,000 to 3,000 workers on site at any given time. There will probably be anywhere between 200 to 300 electricians on that site at any given time.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of people.
It is a massive project. Right now, even at this parking garage, we are a group of 60 electricians, for which I'm responsible for about 15 of them.
Wow, that is wild. That's so cool. What would you say is the hardest part about being an electrician?
There's a few things with electrician, but probably one of the hardest ones is that we have to follow rules. We have a specific code and code book that we have to adhere to. One of the biggest challenges in terms of directly electrical work is that you need to make sure that you follow those codes, because they're the things that keep people, equipment safe. Anything that's in our code book is there as a result of somebody either being hurt or something being damaged. But on top of that, I think one of the other things that sort of a challenge with all trades is the environment that you're working in. And that's one thing that I tell people, that, there are some days where you're outside working in the sun, or you're in a nice warm office installing stuff. But there are other days where you're outside in the freezing cold and it's raining and it's muddy and it's unpleasant, but you still have to do your job.
Yeah. So what would you say is the most valuable or significant thing you've learned from your career so far?
I think it's sort of, again, I think that's kind of a split answer. I think one of the things is that you need to be confident in your training and the things that you've learned over the course of becoming an electrician. But at the same time, not to be afraid to ask for help or to admit when you don't know something, because in those cases, it could be something that might involve somebody being hurt or damaged or even potentially killed. So it's important to feel confident what you're doing, but at the same time to know the limitations of maybe it's something you've never done before, maybe it's something you're unclear about. You have to feel comfortable seeking help and making sure that things are done safely and well.
Do you find that as a supervisor that maybe new electricians have a hard time seeking that help?
I think that it's in our nature to try and solve problems. So people will try and solve problems, and sometimes they'll take that further than they need to, and sort of do things that are either not appropriate or not safe or even sort of not up to our code. As a supervisor, I try and encourage people to try and solve problems as far as they can, and to some point even take a little bit of risk and make decisions, because I don't want to be a micromanager. I want people to feel confident what they can do, but there are limitations. So absolutely, I find it's something that people sometimes have a hard time finding where that line is.
Is your career what you thought it'd be when you started, and are there any expectations that turned out different from reality?
Well, I was quite fortunate. I had a chance to work before I decided. I knew I wanted to get into the trades, and I had done a few different trades. I had done sort of home renovations, sort of general contracting, a little bit of carpentry. I had the fortunate event where I was able to work alongside electricians and see what they do, and it was a bit of an eye-opener for me. I had an idea what an electrician does in a house, in terms of wiring up lights and stuff like that. But I hadn't really spent any time with more industrial and commercial electricians, seeing what they do, doing things like building hospitals and working on apartment buildings and building things. So I was fortunate enough to have a chance to work alongside and see what the work looked like. So it wasn't really a surprise for me. I had an idea that it was something that I really wanted to do. I liked the way they work. I liked the type of work they were doing, and it's been extremely fulfilling because it hasn't really been any surprises in terms of not expecting unpleasant things. In terms of taking on a leadership role, there were some surprises there, and the responsibility, I wasn't sure if I would like it or not, but I do.
Nice. What sort of education and training did you take to become an electrician?
That's an interesting question, and it's one that, as an electrician, I've been licensed now for about 6 years. Before that, I was in high tech, and nobody ever asked me how to become a product line support person or salesperson. But I've been asked several times about how to become an electrician.
Interesting.
It's a challenging career to get into. Effectively, what you need to do is you have to find somebody to sponsor you as an apprentice. And there's really two paths for that. There's one path where you would be sponsored by a company that does electrical work, or you would be sponsored through a union. And effectively, they would, once they bring you on as a sponsor, they register you with the province, and you have to write a short aptitude test. And after you pass that test, you become an electrical apprentice. That apprenticeship lasts for 9,000 hours, and that works out to about 5 years. Over the course of that 5 years, you have to log that 9,000 hours of work, along with going to school 4 times within that period. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. As you go through those four sessions of school, they're spread out throughout your apprenticeship, because they want you to have hands-on experience and as much experience in different areas of the electrical field as you can. And after you complete your four sessions of school and your 9,000 hours, you then have to pass the Canadian Red Seal test, which is an exam that you have to pass in order to become a certified Red Seal electrician. Yeah,
That's a lot of work with all the apprenticeship and the
it's pretty
9,000
much
hours.
the longest apprenticeship program.
Oh,
Um, it's longer than HVAC or plumbing or welding, or it's definitely a little more involved than some of the other
yeah.
trades in that way. Yeah.
Is that because of all the safety behind it?
It's because of the safety and because the things that you do quite directly can impact people, and
Yeah.
if you do something poorly or don't follow the rules, people can die.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, what would make an excellent electrician?
I think probably um, having attention to detail. As I've mentioned before, we have a code book that we have to follow, and even within each organization that you work with, there are rules that you need to follow. So paying attention to those things um, can be critical to life safety for sure.
Yeah.
I find caring about what you're doing and having pride in your work. I would say that with any of the trades is pretty evident. If you just really do the bare minimum, you notice it right away. Most people in the trades take pride in the fact that they are proud of their work and that it's something they want to last, and it's something that they want to be done, the way that they would have it done themselves. Having some level of tenacity and not giving up in things is going to help you with all trades. Um, and keeping yourself organized is going to be another thing that is really significantly help you out as well.
Yeah. How would you say you make a memorable impact as being an electrician?
For me, the fact that I do care about both the people I work with and for is something that people are very receptive to. I've often gotten feedback that my employer and the people I work with really appreciate the fact that I care about the work I do. I care about the people that I'm working with, the people that are working for me, and the projects that I'm working on. So I'd say that everyone I've worked with seems very happy to work with me again, and I think that makes it. I think that would probably make it memorable for them and for me.
Yeah, for sure. And what advice would you give to someone wanting to become an electrician?
I think first and foremost, the first thing they should do is try and get some experience working in the trades, working with their hands. There are times where even as a supervisor, I'm cleaning up. I'm sweeping. I'm getting things organized. But even just being able to use basic tools, whether it's knowing how to use a shovel or hand tools, screwdrivers, drills, things like that, effectively are a big step. So I would really recommend that people that are interested in it get out and try something. Like, see if you can get a job with people that are looking for help on job sites.
Yeah.
Just general labor, things of that nature. I also, given that we live in Canada and given that we live in Ottawa, I would recommend that people have a chance to work outside, because that can be a bit of a game changer. Understanding how your body and your personality meld with being outside in the cold in the winter, that might impact whether or not you want to be somebody that works in the trades or in electrical.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, seeing with the weather and stuff like that. That's really smart.
It can be harsh out there.
Yeah. We have a few questions from students. The first one
Okay.
is, why did you choose to become an electrician over other trades?
So I had been offered a apprenticeship for carpentry, and I really enjoyed doing that. renovating. One of the things that I didn't love about it was the highly repetitive nature of it. It's one thing to be building something unique and cool. It's another thing to have to be drywalling an entire house and putting up the mud and sanding and painting an entire house is quite draining, I found. So one of the things I liked about electrical is that there is a wide variety of things that you can be doing. Each project has totally different nuances. You might be doing one thing completely different from day to day. So I enjoyed the variety. I also enjoyed the level of problem solving that's required, because you're making micro decisions on a minute by minute basis in terms of getting your work completed, but also solving problems all day, whether that's personnel problems, working with other trades, or specific to the task that you're on.
Another one is, what is the hardest thing you've worked on as an electrician?
The hardest thing I found specifically for me is very complicated control work, lighting control, things of that nature. It's not something I have a great deal of experience with. So understanding sort of the electronics and how they get put together is one that I find really challenging. I enjoy it, but it is one that I find hard.
And then the last one is, what is the competitiveness like for an electrician?
It's really a challenge.
Yeah.
It is really, really a challenge. Yeah. I would say that I've heard people getting an apprenticeship in as short a time as 6 months, and I've also heard people taking them up to 2 years to get signed up for an apprenticeship. Part of the challenge is that there's only a certain number of apprenticeships that are done per year. And part of that is that we also want to make sure that the people that are working in the trade have a suitable amount of work. So that you sort of don't want to flood the market with workers, and then the people that are in the trade can't make a living. So, it's something that you really have to stay diligent with. It's also something that I think that the people that tend to get their apprenticeship and get into the trade are ones that are persistent. Stay on it. Talk to companies, try and get hired, try and get as much experience in other fields in the trades as you can. And I would even say, don't be afraid to jump into another trade in the meantime. And, some of the ones like getting on as a laborer or something like that is a little bit easier, but you're still building your skill set and making money at the same time.
Nice. That's some good tips. Do you have any last comments or anything? Or
No, I enjoyed the interview. I think your questions were very poignant.
Thank you.
I think people that are interested in getting in the trades, it's something that I know is more pushed in school. I can tell you that from a quality of life perspective, I find it's very good. I'm done work at 4:30 every day.
Oh, nice.
And I work a 36-hour work week, which means I work 4 days a week. I have every Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. I have excellent benefits. I also have a pension as part of working with a union. Is sort of some really nice perks with that. So it's a comfortable lifestyle. It's also something that myself right now, I'm at my cottage wiring in some baseboard heaters. So there's some nice skill sets that come along with it that are very practical to use in other parts of your life.
Nice. Thank you again to Chris Cummings for that amazing interview about a career as an electrician. If you want to listen to this episode or others like it, you can listen here on CKCU 93.1 FM or wherever you listen to podcasts.